Hi, I'm Simone and I'm going to show you my absolute favourite brownie recipe. This is a triple chocolate brownie and it's absolutely gorgeous and it is really quite easy. It's just 3 simple steps. So the first step is to melt together our butter and our chocolate. I've actually got 100 grams of milk chocolate and 100 grams of dark chocolate. So that's 2 of our 3 chocolates. And these are just room temperature. I'm going to put them together in this bowl and pop them in the microwave for 2 minutes. The next thing I'm going to do is whisk together 3 eggs, or rather with my paddle attachment, mix together 3 eggs at room temperature, medium size, free range, and 270 grams of soft brown sugar. I'm then going to sift together some gluten-free, and I'll show you that in a second, gluten-free flour and some cocoa. It's 40 grams of cocoa and 90 grams of gluten-free plain flour. And I'm going to put them all together and you'll see how I do it, and then I'm going to pop it in the oven for 25 minutes. So the flour that I'm using is Dove's Farm, established 1978, and it's gluten-free and it's a flour blend. So actually it's a mixture of quite a few different things. And with this kind of flour it is important to use a little bit more milk. So I'm going to be adding 45 millilitres of milk, which is 1 shot glass. So I'm just going to pop this together in the microwave now. My 2 chocolates and my butter. Now this cake also has white chocolate in, and I'm going to add that towards the end. But you can add anything really. You could also add some walnuts maybe, or some pecans, or anything that you like. So it's just a really good starter recipe and you can add whatever you like, as and when. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave, I'll show you when it's melted. And I'm also going to show you doing my eggs and my sugar and what it is that I'm looking for. I've now done my chocolate. It went in the microwave for a total of 2 minutes. It was 90 seconds to start off with, and then I stirred it and I put it in for another 30 seconds. And the good thing about doing this before you do the rest of the mixture is that it gives it an opportunity to cool a little. So now I'm going to put my soft brown sugar into the mixer. Now soft brown sugar has a lot of lumps in it. If you don't want to use soft brown sugar, you can use golden caster sugar, or you can even use white granulated if you want to. I'm also going to add 3 medium free range eggs at room temperature. And what I'm going to do is just mix this about for around about 5 minutes. Now I know that seems like a really long time, but you're looking for it to be quite foamy. So I won't bore you with that, I'll just show you what it looks like at the end. This has been going for a good 5 minutes or so now on a paddle attachment. I could have used a whisk attachment, but I've tried it before with this and it's absolutely fine. You can see here, you can't see very well. If you can't see, you will certainly see when you make it. There are just some like bubbles floating on the top. This is what you're looking for because it shows it's quite well aerated. And we're going to fold our mixture in next, and we're going to try not to lose too many of those bubbles, because the bubbles are what help this rise a little bit in the oven and give it a lighter texture. So let's just remove this. If you can see that, there's quite a few air holes in it. And we're going to try and keep those air holes when we fold our mixture in. So if I just pour that in, I'm just pouring half, and I've poured it down the side, and I'm now going to fold this in. And this will take perhaps a minute, but the idea is to fold it in. So don't just stir, because that'll get rid of the air bubbles. You're trying to gently just move it around and mix it in that way. Right, my oven was preheated, so I've just switched it off as it's just reached temperature, and I'm going to put this in about 2 minutes. And all you need to do is mix this, add a bit more in, and then once this is mixed in, we're going to be adding in our flour and our cocoa. And then if you are adding a final chocolate to make it a triple chocolate, then you'll just add your milk chocolate. So I will show you this once it's done. I'm now going to sift in my cocoa and my gluten-free flour. You could just replace this with regular flour that contains gluten if you want to. And I'm just going to sift this in. It's really, really, really important to sift this in, as cocoa just has loads of lumps in it basically, and if you don't, it'll just be really, really lumpy and not in a good way. So I'll fold this in as well, and yes, it will look powdery, and yes, you will be absolutely convinced that this is never going to come together, but it really will. And then once this is done, I'll add milk and some chocolate buttons that I've crushed up, and I'll put it in the pan and I'll show you that. You can see now that my mixture's come together and it's a nice even dark brown all the way through. I'm just going to add a shot of milk and stir that about, and then add some white chocolate buttons and put that in the pan. The pan I've lined it with a foil lined parchment paper, but you could use anything you like. If you don't want to line it at all, you can just use a non-stick spray. Alternatively, you can use butter and then sift some cocoa in there as well if you want to, or you can line it with a grease-proof or a silicone paper. It's completely up to you. So my milk is now folded in. It's really important to add the milk if you're using a gluten-free flour. You can omit this step if you're not using that. And I have here 70 grams of buttons, and some of them I crushed up and some of them I didn't, and that's just going to mean that we get some nice texture when we bite into it. So this is my pan that I have lined with a foil lined parchment paper, and I'm just going to pour this on there. So I took it out of the oven. What I did after I switched it off, it went in for 25 minutes. I thought it needed a little bit longer. I could tell because the top hadn't cracked at all and it's still a teeny bit jiggly in the middle. So I put it in for another 7 minutes. Then when the 7 minutes were up and I could start to see some cracks, I switched the oven off and left it in for another 5 minutes. So I've taken this out to cool now, and this will probably take about an hour to cool to room temperature. You could just eat this as is. Just cut a piece out, a bit of ice cream, and that'll be absolutely gorgeous. But also you can just cut it up and it freezes really well, and you can keep it in an airtight container for a good 3 or 4 days. So I will show you what it looks like when it's cut up. But other than that, enjoy!